channel. Today we're going to be talking about postpartum depression, also known as major depressive disorder with a peripartum onset. There's so much to say about postpartum depression. It doesn't get the attention that it deserves. I just want to shed some light onto the subject as well as break it down into bite-sized pieces of some things you can do to help yourself if you are suffering from postpartum depression. If you want to learn more about postpartum depression in all of its entirety, feel free to check out the NAMI website as well as a Mayo Clinic's website. I will put those links in the description bar so you can learn more about it. But first, I want to get more into it and talk about our celebrity guest, who is Chrissy Teigen, because she has openly shared her struggle with postpartum depression, and she's been a very good advocate as far as letting people know how she feels. Now, she's been a person who is in the media, obviously a celebrity that is under a great deal of scrutiny and also has to deal with the depression that she suffers from losing a child, as well as the challenges she's had with suffering from postpartum depression. She does currently have 2 kids. She did lose one. It doesn't matter if you've lost a child or if you have children, you still can suffer from postpartum depression. Doesn't matter how many kids you have, you can always still suffer from postpartum depression. It has even been said to have lasted up to 2 years after pregnancy. But let's first get into what it is. Postpartum depression is depression suffered by a mother following childbirth, typically arising from the combination of hormonal changes, psychological adjustment to motherhood, and fatigue. Now, the symptoms doesn't always show up like that. We'll get further in detail about the symptoms and exactly what they mean, but you have to first know who you are and know your own symptoms because they may show up differently in everybody else. Somebody may have extreme symptoms while another person may not have symptoms that are very overt at all. But it's important to know that shortly after you have give birth to a child, you have some hormonal changes. So that's very accurate in that sense. So it's very important to know that if you notice something differently, you actually verbalize those things right away. Let's get into some of the symptoms because it's very important that we understand what it means and have a good understanding of what we can do if these happen to occur. So some of the symptoms are extreme difficulty with day-to-day functioning, feelings of guilt, anxiety, fear, loss of pleasure in life, insomnia, having trouble sleeping, of course, which is insomnia, bouts of crying, baby blues, thoughts of hurting yourself, or thoughts of even hurting your infant. You may have some very, very dark symptoms, and you may feel guilty by just having those actual symptoms, but know that you're not alone. There's help and there's things you can do to get yourself back on track. And the first step doing that is actually verbalizing that to somebody who can actually help you, which is very important. So a few more symptoms consist of mood swings, anxiety, definitely sadness, irritability, and reduced concentration. There could also be some appetite changes as well. Those are things to look for if you're having something, if you feel like something's just not right, you feel like something's not right, and you really want to kind of hone in on what you're feeling and verbalize that. Your family and friends, your spouse, they may not obviously see those right away. So it's important for you to recognize that something's different in you. You know, there's some kind of change. You know, you're having negative, intrusive thoughts, and you want to make sure you take care of those and don't just ignore those. Sometimes once your hormones get back in balance, it does go away on its own. But of course, it's much better treated if you have someone to help you treat it, which is a therapist or a professional who knows what they're talking about as far as helping you with your challenges of depression, postpartum depression to be exact. So there's other ways that you mentioned before. Chrissy Teigen has been a very good advocate about coming open and about her anxiety as well as her challenges with postpartum depression. She's even open about the feelings of how she felt after the loss of her third child. And it was very sad to see somebody going through that because it happens so often and it puts you in a place where you just can't get back from, or at least you feel like you can't get back from that place. She has also said that it was a sad existence. There were no highs. It was a flat line of life for a few months. Teigen said, you hear these horrific stories of people not seeing their child as theirs or wanting to hurt them. And I never felt that way. That's why I put off getting it checked as I hated myself, not my child. She said that on the news when she did a segment, and that kind of aligns very much so with the symptoms we just discussed earlier. Some things she did is getting treatment, and she's been open about that as well. I'm not sure if she takes medication for it or not. I'm not sure if she still suffers from anxiety or not, but the postpartum depression she opened up about it around, this time last year, and it can make you feel like you're in a place where you just don't know where to go or where to turn. So just know if you're a person who is not open to therapy, that this is a time to actually consider alternatives for yourself and not just putting yourself in a position where you're alone. Actually taking the time and knowing that something's very different and there's something that you can do, and people are suffering from this as well. It may even help you to go to maybe a women's group as well as get treatment. Please consider it for the betterment of yourself and your child. It's the time to, most people would consider enjoying the baby and building bonding time, and you may feel guilty about not being able to do that. So there's definitely prenatal, postnatal care that you can consider, as well as parenting classes, as well as, of course, therapy. But there is treatment available, but the most important thing you have to do for yourself is to definitely ask for help. You want to ask for help and not see the glass as half empty. There's ways to see the glass as half full, even. Why not make it full? I know there's no reason to feel guilty for yourself, no reason to hate yourself. It's just a time where it's important to get help. I want to thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next video.
Girl, show them it, girl, with a bang bang.